welfare of all children nationwide, because it shouldn't hurt to be a child. Here is your host, Tammy Stefano.
Okay, folks, we're going to jump right in here because we have...
It is an important part, I understand that, but we were told that if we spoke about the case that the...
Folks, right now, we have Claire...
Okay, you know what? We're already here, and we have...
Rembis on the phone.
A couple more questions for the case.
They have stolen their children.
I'm Jose. You can talk to his attorney, but
I'm listening live.
I'm Jose, so you don't need to go through my attorney.
John, if you can put this up.
This is not a court matter. This is something I need to talk to you now.
Okay. Can we get their number? I'm probably not there until Tuesday, but...
I mean, because these are questions that I need answers for before we go to court. These are things that are important before court. These are like, has nothing to do with the court hearing or anything like that. When he was arrested and y'all got the kids and all that, the detective had said something the detective was telling the other police that our children eat out of dumpsters. He was telling them that. We're wanting to know where that came from, why he said that. Why can't we talk about it now? Yes, but this doesn't have anything to do with the court. I'm sorry, but this doesn't have anything to do with the court case. Well, have you guys finished the interviews with the kids? You haven't finished interviewing the children. You haven't finished the investigation. You haven't. And you've had them for like a week and a half, and you haven't finished the investigation.
What's the delay?
Because the interviews, if you guys had called us to make the appointment and we brought them in, the interviews would have been...
We tried to do that. We did call you. You didn't return our phone calls. And you didn't.
Yeah, something is not right.
Yeah, something is definitely not right. They know that they got nothing there.
Okay.
They know that they got...
No, they would not let me say goodbye. They knew that I did not say goodbye to her. They knew that I didn't say goodbye. They did that on purpose. They did it on purpose. Hello?
Hello.
Hi, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if we'd be able to do the show tonight, and I didn't hear back before I left. And
That's okay. That's okay. We've just been listening. We're live right now. You know what?
Okay,
we're live right now, so you're live on the air.
All right.
And it sounds like you're just going through hell, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I went to use the bathroom, and while I was in the bathroom, they escorted the girls out, and they didn't let me say goodbye to them. And I came out, and I said, you knew I was in the bathroom, and they said, well, we can't do anything about that. So they didn't let me say goodbye to them.
Oh, honey, I am so sorry.
Yeah. So I just, so many questions, they've had them for a week and a half, and they said they haven't done their interviews, and that's what the big drama was, Gerald and I said, you've had them for a week and a half, you still haven't done the interviews, and now they're not talking. Like, talk to our attorney, but, talk through your attorney, but I'm pro se. So, and I told them that. I don't need to go through my attorney. So, at any rate, I'm just...
take a breath.
It's very cruel. It's very cruel.
I used the
bathroom, and they ushered them out the back of the building.
It is absolutely cruel and just unwarranted. I don't care what. Unwarranted.
I told them I was going to come back. I'll be right back.
Oh, honey, I'm so sorry.
And it's not like I can call them and say I'm sorry. It's not like I can call them and say I was going to come back. I can't call and say I'm sorry.
Oh, honey, listen. Oh. Listen, your girls know. Okay? At the end of the day, as mothers, we have to know. Our children know how much we love them. Right now, you really just need to hold on to that. Hold on to that, because you know and they know. And don't let this evil entity that it seems like the sole purpose is to hurt people, to torture children and families. Do not let them interfere with what you know is a strong bond. Take a breath, honey. Take a breath. Take a breath. Shame on them. Are you okay?
I'm here. Yes,
I
ma'am.
know. I know.
It's not a lot of time, it's just 1 hour. It was like 45 minutes, and so I just,
Folks,
yeah.
this is what the system is doing to people. It is absolutely uncalled for. There's just no reason.
I need the alcohol.
There's just no reason. Clear.
Yes.
Tell the audience, everybody is waiting. They're holding their breath right now, saying, "Holy mackerel!" They're not clear. They're not clear on what's going on. But we kind of just like started the show with this very covert situation, and then with you being so heartbroken and going through such abuse for no reason, and your girl's going through it. Please tell us, give us like a 30-second elevator speech about what has happened to your family. What happened to your family?
Well, last year, we had that case.
Oh no, just go with nobody knows. So, and don't get into
Okay.
specifics, but it's you and your
Right.
husband. And how many children do you have? And what?
We have 11 children.
11 children.
We have 11 children, and we homeschool. Their ages are starting at the top: 17, 15, 13. One just is going to turn 11 in a few days, and then our twins just turned 10, and then 8 years old, 6 years old, 4 years old. One just turned 3, and then our baby, who is about 1.5 years, Enoch. Those are our babies.
My goodness. God bless you, honey. God
Thank
bless
you.
both of you. God bless these children that don't deserve.
Yeah, they're amazing. We are very lucky. We have the most amazing kids, and I know probably everyone says that, but we do.
I'm sure that you do. We're looking at them right now, and they're just absolutely beautiful, and they look so happy. So tell us what happened.
Well,
you're separated from your children right now. What happened?
Well, just briefly, I'll just say last year, I was in the hospital, and my husband came and saw me with our baby for a couple of times, and our oldest kids were in charge to babysit for a few hours. And so that's how a church member was concerned and said that they're not old enough to babysit. And he was 16 at the time, and then 14, and then 12, and then the others. And, that's how CPS got involved. But that case was completely dismissed.
So a church member felt that your children were not mature enough to take care of the others.
Exactly. And so, they called the cops and the police, and CPS. And so it was a nightmare. But the thing is that it was completely dismissed. And not only was it completely dismissed, but the judge at our very last hearing reprimanded CPS, and she said to them, to the attorney ad litem and the CPS workers, why do you keep investigating this family when it's clearly a harassment? They're not abusive, they're not neglectful. Why? And so I felt a sense of security knowing, okay, well, this is a judge telling CPS this in court.
Right.
And so, I'm like, well, by the grace of God, we're not going to have to deal with them ever again. This should be it. Although our attorney did warn us, you should probably sue them as soon as possible because they're probably going to come back if you don't. But again, I think that gave us a sense of security was hearing the judge herself say that. But
Okay.
with this case, we've mentioned that several times, and what CPS tells us is that was a different county. So I guess it doesn't count. It's
So
as if the
same
judge never.
state. Tell us the state. Tell us the state.
Right, same state.
What
Right,
state is it?
Texas.
Texas. Don't mess with Texas. Isn't that the right? I've been to Texas, so that's the logo. As soon as you walk, you drive through that state line, you're going to see
Yes.
the big sign that says "Don't mess with Texas."
Yes, ma'am. You sure do.
Yeah, and you're really feeling that sign is more accurate than probably you ever really recognized.
I know, but I don't. I'm a native Texan. My relatives fought at the Alamo, and when I hear "Don't mess with Texas," I mean, like, I hear "Don't touch my kids." I hear, "You don't tell me how to practice religion." You don't. I've
Talking about the
always
Bible
had
Belt, right?
absolutely, and that's
So,
that's been how I was raised, and that's my family, and that's what I always think.
right.
And this does not feel like the Texas I've grown up in and I've come to love and that my relatives fought so hard for.
Okay. The first time that they came in because somebody felt that they knew better than mom and dad and older kids. Okay, here in the state of California, 13 years old, the legal age to babysit. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know what the
Yeah.
legal age is there?
There is none.
There's no legal age.
Yep.
Did they
Right.
remove your children during the first time?
Yes, ma'am. They sure did. They sure did. They lied to get the removal. They actually said that that the kids were left alone for 3 days.
Oh my God.
Completely. And not that I mean, if they're mature enough, I mean, there's not a problem with that, even if they had been, but they hadn't been.
Right.
But what they did was the judge, the sitting judge, who usually who signs off on the removal orders, she was on vacation, and
Okay.
she already knew our family, and so they knew that she would not sign removal orders. So they waited for her to go on vacation. They went to the sitting judge. They lied to him, got the removal orders, and so when the judge found out, the sitting judge, when she found out what had happened, while the kids were back within like a day and a half, about 36 hours after they were taken, most of them are back. We were told that a few of the others couldn't be sent back right away because of their ages, that legally an adversary hearing had to be held before they could come home. But she did the best that she could, and most of them came home right away after she found out what they had done. And then after the adversary hearing, they all came back.
How long did that take? What was the complete time from beginning to end that any of your children were out of the house?
Well, it was 6 days. So 7 of them were back within about 36 hours, and then the rest were back 6 days after they were taken.
So within a week, your
Right.
children are allowed to return back to the safety and comfort and protection of their biological family and the comfort of their own home.
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you've got your children back. You and your husband are devastated. You can't believe it. You're praying for that church member, that church member would begin to pray, maybe shift their prayers to pray for the wisdom, discernment, because clearly they did not, they lacked in that area. Respectfully, I'm sorry to say it, but I truly feel just, that they lacked in that area. So that might be something that's worthy for them to pray for. Okay. So you got your family back. What happens then and when? How long after?
Well, they were taken a week and a half ago. So, it's interesting. It's almost 1 year to the date.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say, about 11 months. They were taken on July 7th, 2015. And this time, I believe it was the 24th. I'm sorry, ever since they were taken, I just don't even know what day of the week it is anymore.
I know.
So August 24th of this time is when they were taken illegally, I might add. But yes.
Yes. Illegally. They had no search warrant.
Right. They had.
Tell us a little
Right.
bit about what happened, if you're able to.
Well, yes. Well, it started 2 weeks after we moved into our home. We just moved to Lubbock from Bowie, Texas. My husband had accepted a job, like a job offer, and we moved out here. And we just moved in, and our daughter, our 2-year-old, she's 3 years old now, but she is amazing and so smart and really good at getting out of the house. So before we moved in, we made sure that all the doors, like our front door has 4 locks on it.
Okay.
And
Good
so we
for
made
you.
sure like all the gates had, locks on them. Everything was secure because she can get out of anything, right?
Right.
Okay, so on May 16th, I was in the courtyard with the twins, and the girls were playing in the front of the house. The boys were in their room. And I hear that there's a police officer at the door, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? So I went to the door, and come to find out, what had happened was our 2-year-old, she had snuck out of the house, and she was in the front yard. My husband went across the street
your
to
front
grab a
yard?
coffee. Right, in our front yard. So my husband had gone across the street to grab a coffee, and she saw him, and so she ran after him and was in the front yard, and she said, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." And one of our daughters heard her, so she went and she brought her back inside. And this is what the police told me, was that they received a call about a wandering, abandoned child. And so I didn't even know it happened. Apparently this happened really quick. Like, she ran after Daddy, she came back inside, and they just didn't tell me about it.
Do you know anybody that's ever called the police when, they need them? There's a car accident, officer, and they say, we'll get somebody to you as soon as somebody's available. Did you
Never.
ever hear of the police coming like that? It's almost
Right.
like, the angel went to Daniel. I mean, he prayed, and there it was. And it seems like there it was, right? I mean, second.
Right.
I don't know if the police get to a crime scene, a homicide scene that quickly, but they got to your house that quickly.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And, well, that's shocking, but this is what even more shocking. So, I explained to him, the girls told me what happened, and I'm like, okay. And so he's like, okay, and then he left. And then the person who called the police was in the road by her car, and she talked to him, and he advised her that he was not going to call CPS, and she specifically inquired about that, and so she decided to take matters into her own hands.
Okay.
She called CPS, and this is the interesting part. They were at our home no later than like 15 minutes after she called them, and they were at our house. And it's interesting because if you read the CPS manual, they issue like priorities for
Absolutely.
calls.
24
And
hours, 72 hours,
exactly.
5 days. Absolutely.
Right.
Depending
and so
on
even
the circumstance. That's right. Imminent circumstance.
Yes. And
Exigent.
even the most emergent call, I believe they give themselves like 24 hours to respond to like a priority one or whatever it is.
They're
They were
not law
here.
enforcement.
I mean, they were there like 10, 15 minutes after she called, and it was just shocking. I'm like, oh my gosh. But of course, for us, CPS has a deep meaning. We don't say, oh, there's a CPS worker. The kids start panicking. They're like, oh my gosh, their hearts are racing, and we are just terrified. So
I want to talk about that for a minute. Okay. Law enforcement is like blink your eyes, open your eyes, they're there. Okay, we wish that law enforcement would be available when we're in danger, and the time, that it took them to get to you from this caller. But then but then the department, Child Protective Services, they're there. In 15 minutes time, they arrive. Yeah,
I know.
It's absolutely something, but something you just said, that's amazing, and we're going to touch on that in a moment, but you said the kids were terrified.
Right.
They were terrified.
Right.
But Claire, I want to touch on something for a moment, a very sensitive topic. Naturally, folks, yes, you get removed from your house, you get taken away from your family that you know and love, that is not abusing you, by the way, and you get placed with strangers, and you don't know when you're going back, and you're just a kid, and nobody's answering you, and nobody's giving you the courtesy or respect or upholding any rights that you might have, because they don't think that you have any.
I know.
Yeah, but they do. Darn it.
Exactly.
They
That's
do,
what we
and
teach
we
them.
must. Yes, me too. We must enforce this, but when they're out of your hands and you don't know where they are, they become afraid, because at the end of the day, they are still children, and they're small, and they're they're vulnerable.
I know.
Oh, honey, I know.
And you can't be there to comfort them. And you can't be there to apologize, and to reassure them that everything's going to be okay. And you can't be there to comfort them when they're scared. And, I can imagine what that's like for me as an adult if I were kidnapped, but for a child, it's a different ballpark.
Yes, it is. They were afraid, a child would be afraid if they were removed from their home. But your children it was much deeper than that.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Tell us about that if you can, or I can.
Okay. Yeah.
Why were they so afraid? Because they were out of your house for 6 days. They were afraid, petrified this time more than the first time, because of that 6 days. What happened to them, honey?
Well, first of all, so there are 4 of them that we know for a fact were abused in some way. And by the grace of God, our oldest son, he was able to escape, and he dodged. If you read our story on Medical Kidnap, you will see that for hours he dodged police officers and social workers on the longboard. I'm so proud of him. It's not something a 16-year-old should be doing, but he did, and I'm proud of him. But now remember, 7 of them are gone for 36 hours, and then the rest were gone for 6 days. So one of the children that was abused was one of the children that was gone for 36 hours, and it's my son, and I'm not going to use his name, but at the time he was 9, and they had separated him from all of his siblings, and they took him to a homeless shelter in downtown Dallas I believe it's called Jacob's Place. Yes. And there were children and there are adults there. So he was all by himself, alone, and then within a few hours, I don't know how many, I want to say 2 or 3, we've got the records, but within a couple of hours, he was doing rigorous psychological testing, and according to their records, he was being tested for 9 hours. 9 hours. 9 hours. And who knows everything they did, but, we got glimpses. But one of the questions that they asked Andrew, I'm so sorry, I said his name. That's not his name, don't forget that. My son, one of the questions that they asked him was, do you masturbate? Okay, he was 9. He was 9. So how we found out that they asked him that was a couple of weeks after he was home, one of his sisters asked me what that word was. And I asked her, like, excuse me, honey, and I'm, like, asking her several times, what did you say? What did you say? And I'm asking, her other sister, what did she say? And they really said the word masturbate, and I was shocked because they don't know what that word is. And they told me that when Andrew was at the foster home, someone asked him if he masturbated. And I'm thinking, he didn't know what the word was. He didn't know what it meant. Come on, he's 9
years old.
He's freaking 9 years old. Like, how messed up are you to ask a child that, So that happened, and then, he kept to himself for about 2 weeks or 3 weeks after he returned. We would catch him just sitting by himself, like staring into space. He just wasn't happy and talkative and just like his normal self.
Right.
And we were like, Andrew, how are you doing, sweetie? What are you thinking? Are you okay? You could talk to us any time. No pressure at all. Just
don't say any
letting him know
names,
that
honey.
we're
Don't say any
available, to him if he wanted to talk. And so after a few weeks, he started acting more normal. But he did tell us that something bad happened, and he won't tell us what it is. And he kept saying, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to tell you. And we've never pressured him. He's never gone back to that. He's never talked about it. But we have let him know that it's safe. If he ever needs to talk about anything like that, he can. But we don't know what this was.
Right.
So that was him. And now the girls.
No more names. No more names, Claire.
And no names. Yes, ma'am. Our girls. Well, the youngest 4 were taken in for physicals, and for whatever reason, we were reading their medical reports with an attorney, and she explained to us that what we were reading to her was called a sexual abuse exam. And she said, Claire, she goes, do you know how traumatic those are for children? And I'm like, no, I don't. And she started describing it, and I said, stop. I can't hear it right now, So that, we never really went back to that. I just remember reading it and thinking, wow, it breaks my heart. There were no allegations of sexual abuse. They were upset that they're making a big deal about my older kid's babysitting,
Right.
So come back to this time, right, when my daughter got out, my 2-year-old got out of the house, the girls started talking to each other, and they're playing in their room, their toys, and they just start talking to each other about foster care. And that's when I overheard them talking about the doctor they thought that they would catch germs from. And and I heard them saying that, and I'm like listening, eavesdropping,
Yeah.
And then later that day, I said, honey, why would you catch, why would you be worried about catching germs from a doctor? And that's when she told me that so the doctor
I know, honey.
looked down there, right? Yeah, and we teach them the names for their anatomy, so they use the word vagina. The doctor looked down there. When the doctor looked down there, the doctor felt down there, and I'm like, where, sweetie? And I described it. And then she was afraid of getting the doctor's germs because when the doctor felt inside of there, the doctor didn't have gloves on, and that was icky. And I'm like, oh, my goodness, really, sweetheart? I'm like, wow, you're right. Doctors should wear gloves. And then that's when her sister said that they did the same thing to her. They didn't know that we had seen the records and we had read what had happened, but I didn't know that they actually witnessed it happening to our youngest daughter. And so they told me that she was crying and screaming, and she was not cooperating. She tried to get the doctor away. She didn't want the doctor to do the examination. So keep in mind, these are children describing this.
Yes, honey.
They told me that the doctor took ropes and tied her feet down to the freaking bed. They tied her feet down so that they could do the examination. She was little, itty bitty. She's just, it's not, she was tiny. It's like, okay, don't you get it? She doesn't want you to just stop, to fight them. My baby, she tried. Of course, Max, pull up the rope, this freaking cow, this little baby, you're gonna bring out and tie her freaking feet to the bed? And it breaks my heart. These are doctors. We teach our kids that doctors help you get better. Doctors, heal people. And so I just was just beside myself, And so these are the things, like, they started, and then, that happened, and then they told me about, when they were in foster care, they were there for 6 days, and the boys slept in one room and the girls slept in another room. Well, for whatever reason, the foster parents allowed a little boy named Simon, who was about 10 years old, 9 or 10, they don't remember exactly. They allowed Simon to have a sleepover in their bedroom for 2 nights. And each night, he would sleep in my daughter's bunk, the lower bunk. He would sleep in her bunk with her. And that, I don't know if it was both mornings, but one morning they said that when she woke up, that the bed was wet. And she peed in the bed, and, and she got in trouble for it, And it's interesting because she had never had any accidents. They might have one, like, once every few months or so. They drink a lot before bed or whatever.
Of course.
But, after hearing that, I was like, I wonder if that's why she has accidents at night sometimes. Because it didn't start until then, and I'm thinking, I wonder if that's why,
yes.
She's got to wear a pull-up at night because she was completely potty trained, and so I was,
how old was she?
Things were just clicking.
How old was she, honey?
She was 5. She was 5 when this happened. And so I'm like, well, maybe that's why. And we've taken her to the doctor. She doesn't have anything anatomically, wrong. There's no reason. There was no biological reason to explain why, And I know some kids do, but she was completely potty trained before then, So these things came out like a few days after May 16th when they came out this year,
right.
And I'm like, wow, this is really overwhelming, very overwhelming to hear. And so, yeah, that's, and by the grace of God, a couple of our kids were in, from my understanding, a good foster home, although they were told that they stayed, they gave them a time frame. I don't even remember what it was. It was something very specific. If they stayed with them for like 2 or 3 more weeks, they would get a pony.
I thought
that was kind of odd.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was odd. And so random. Well, they were at a farm, and I thank God.
That? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who told them that?
The foster parents.
Okay.
I thought that was an odd thing, but at the same time, they talk about the farm and the animals, and I thank God, and when I pray, I'm like, thank you, Lord, because it sounds like it was a decent place.
Right.
And so that is a total answer to prayer, and I'm thankful for that.
Right.
2 of the other ones were together in a home, and the only thing really fishy about that place was that the foster parents told CPS that our son, who was 13, told them that he poops in our backyard. When he has to go poop, he goes in our backyard. The foster parents told CPS that he told them that. And I'm like, whoa, that's a little out there, you know? I'm like,
Right,
wow.
right.
So, but that's really and again, they were only gone for about 36 hours. They weren't there for too long, but it doesn't sound like it was too bad. And I'm thankful. That's another thing I thank God for, that was okay, you know. At least it wasn't like the other one, you know. So, that's what happened, you know.
Does your
They're gone,
husband,
of course.
does your
I'm
husband have
sorry.
a little bit of a hearing problem?
Yes, ma'am. He sure does.
He does.
He does.
So
Yes, ma'am.
that would not be abnormal if your daughter was running after him. If he didn't hear her so well, even if she was calling him.
Yeah. Right, especially because she's so high pitched, and we've got his audiology report. We actually gave it to the judge, but it shows that that in particular is why he has a really hard time hearing, is really high pitched sounds.
Right. You just didn't hear her. It wasn't neglect.
Well, right.
It wasn't
And
you had disappeared. It wasn't you guys. The two of you were doing drugs in the back room, getting drunk.
Yeah.
You love your children. You're with your children.
We'd been there for like 2 weeks, and we didn't know. We found out a few days later how she was getting out. She knew how to open, because there are 2 doors. There's a hallway door to our garage, and then in the garage, another door to get outside. I was doing dishes, and I remember she had her shoes in her arms, and she said, "Hi," and I'm like, "Oh, hi," you know? And I followed her, and I'm like, "Where is she going?" She thinks she's going somewhere. Yeah. And so I watched her open the garage door, and I was very quiet. I didn't want her to know I was watching. And then she opened up the outside garage door, and I was like, "That's what it is." And then it was so funny because she had opened it, and she was going out, and she had no idea that I was observing her. I go, "Honey, you can't do that." Poor thing. She was like, "Oh my goodness." But at least I figured out. We'd only been there for 2 weeks. We knew she knew how to get out of the backyard. We knew she knew how to get out of doors, front and back. We had all of those tightly secured. We had no idea that she could get out of both of. She's so tiny and petite. I mean, she's so smart, and it will do her well in life. But we just didn't know. We didn't know. And so now, obviously, those doors are secured, but, you know, it wasn't secured when my husband left that day. He didn't secure it behind him when he went to the coffee shop, you know, so.
Right. Okay. So when you moved, isn't that right? You had to move after the first seizure of your children.
Right, we did. We had to move. That is correct.
Okay. And when you moved and you go into your new place and you feel like, your 9-year-old is something's going on, and your children were placed here, there, and everywhere with strangers, and all different dynamics that never happened were brought in, pushed in to your lives, all of your lives. But when you make this move, you feel like, I mean, I'm just assuming. I don't want to.
Yes, totally.
But I'm just envisioning this because I deal with so many of these cases that I almost understand what parents are going through. You take a breath and you go, "We're going to start new. We're going to forget about that. Okay, we're going to put this behind us. Okay, we are family, and we can put this behind us through prayer and you know, however you folks made." Okay, so when you arrived, was there any type of, in your new place, was there anybody or any feeling that you were being judged or labeled as abusers?
Oh, no. Now, when we first moved in, the case was still open, and it closed a couple of weeks after we moved in. And when we first moved in, there was another anonymous allegation coming in. And since then, we've been clued in as to who it was. It was just harassment. But so a new investigator came out, you know, interviewed the kids, did an investigation. And I also need to mention that when he came and said, I've got to investigate and interview your kids, I said, that's perfectly fine, but you need to know that we're going to record it. You know, you can go talk to them alone, whatever you need to do, but we are going to record it. And he said, oh, sure, no problem, that's fine. And I knew right then and there, we're not going to have to worry about this investigator. This is one of the good ones, and I know there are. You've got to know. I mean, there's got to be people who do this because they have a passion for helping children.
Well,
you know,
honey, a small amount.
So
honey, a small amount, maybe 5%. No, I'm serious.
Well, you know, I was
sorry
very
to say that,
relieved.
but I mean, listen, that's coming from them. They speak with me. I get calls from whistleblowers. And I say, listen, I know that there's good in everything.
Right.
You know, every system, in every entity, even it's predominantly, you know, gone foul, there still is some good because that's the balance of life. It's the way it goes. And their response consistently is no more than 5%. 5%.
No way.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. And this is from those who are working within the system, no more than 5%.
Wow.
That's real. That's amazing.
Wow. That is crazy. I had no idea. Wow.
I've had workers on my show who have said it. Yeah. I mean, I just got a call a couple of days ago. I got a call not long ago, and I was told there is not one good supervising social worker. Not one honest supervisor. And this social worker, he said, you know, it was said that he's been a social worker for over 10 years. He's the highest level. He's worked this like no tomorrow. Not one honest, decent, empathetic, compassionate, caring, supervising social worker. And the problem is clear. Social workers, even when they are honest, that 5%, they don't have the ability to make the final decisions or really any decisions. So you need to bear that in mind because that's real. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, it's shocking.
That's scary. That is
it's
so
scary as heck. Scary as heck.
Wow. Like,
you're right now. Pardon me, honey? I hear you.
Can you okay now?
You're breaking up, but it's getting a little better. Okay. Keep talking.
Okay, yeah, you're breaking up a little.
Now I'm breaking up. I'm still in the
better.
same place. Oh, good. Wherever you are, be there. The show doesn't go on too much longer. Actually, we're almost done. Okay. Clear. Your children are not with you right now, you or your husband.
No.
Has anybody been arrested, Claire?
Yes. My husband
your husband was put in jail for some ticket violation from years ago or something like that, right?
Well, no. He has a driver's license. It's valid, but it's a Michigan driver's license, not a Texas driver's license. And
goodness.
They were like, well, you've been in Texas long enough to be able to get a Texas driver's license.
How do they know? How do they know that he wasn't going back and forth? How do they know that he didn't visit his home state of Michigan where his license was issued? Because guess what? It's called dual residence. Dual residency. I mean, any tax agent, anybody who does taxes knows so many clients have dual residency. And so therefore, you have to say, okay, well, how many months were you here and how many months were you there? So it's not actually illegal for him to have a Michigan driver's license, nor is it illegal for him to have a Texas residence. Oh, we've got to go in a moment, sweetheart. We have 3 minutes left.
Okay.
Texas residence, but so everything would have been fine and dandy, but they arrested him.
Yeah, I know. It was, and the
Well,
cop
you
said
left-
that he did it on purpose. You know, he could have written a ticket, but he said, "I'm doing you a favor because you'll get to see a judge quicker if I arrest you." And he laughed.
Really? Where are your children right now, Claire? 11 children. Where are they?
I know. Two
Well,
of them.
two of them.
The two.
You just were seeing, and they didn't let you say goodbye. Isn't that right?
So I know, and I only see them. I told them I was gonna say goodbye. I'm like, I gotta go use the restroom. I'll be right back. I'm a stay-at-home mom, and we homeschooled. We're always together. We're such a tight-knit family. I'm like, take me, do whatever you want with me. Just leave my kids alone. Kill me, I don't care. Both my husband and I have said that. Just don't mess with them.
Oh, honey. Oh, honey. Folks, Texas. Tell us the actual location in Texas. What's the name of the town? This little. Go ahead.
We're in Lubbock, Texas.
Lubbock or Lubbock?
Yes, ma'am. Lubbock. It's Lubbock.
Lubbock. Okay. Lubbock, folks.
Yes, ma'am.
Lubbock, Texas. In Lubbock, Texas, folks, they have gone to a family that never had any allegations. When the family got their children back, the children disclosed horrific situations, okay? And abuse. A question, Claire, your children get taken away again. Are you apprised of any of your children being put back in the same abusive household that they were in the first time?
I'm sorry, what is your question?
Have
I
any?
don't know if they are.
Okay. Folks, anybody who's in Texas right now, Claire, do you have an email address? Or would you rather not give it? Or you tell me, honey. Okay, let's give it to supporters.
It is Claire, Claire, Elizabeth, Elizabet @me.com. So it's Claire Elizabeth without the H at the end.
Elizabeth without the H. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Claire Elizabeth.
Okay.
@me.com.
All right. You need some support right now. Folks, 11 children. Mom and dad did nothing wrong. Our kid goes in the front yard. She didn't run in the front of a car. She wasn't playing on the railroad here. This is ludicrous. Her kids are beautiful. They've been taken once because a church member didn't pray for discernment and made a bad choice. And now they've been taken again. The husband's been arrested because he had a driver's license. It's bogus. They need support. All right. And we've got to go. Claire, honey, I don't have words for you and your husband other than I am praying for you. I understand that national news needs to pick this up, and hopefully they will. And folks, if you've heard this, we're going to post this show and we're going to hopefully make it just be spread everywhere. Claire, I want you to be strong, honey. Don't lose your faith. Okay? Don't lose your faith. Your children love you, okay? Just as much as you love them, okay? Do not lose your faith, honey. This is...
Never will.
No, honey, miracles are going to happen to you and your family. whatever lesson there is here, you know that we don't always understand, but we just hold on. Just hold on and believe, like Abraham, right?
Right.
Honey, I'm so proud of you. I don't have words. We've got to go. My show is, they're letting me go over it as it is, but
thank you for having me.
no, thank you. I don't thank me. I feel awful that I can't have you on for longer. Thank you for being the mom that you are and the strength that you are.
Thank you. That means so much.
No, just please, honey, please hold on. I am going to contact you after the show, okay? We're going to talk and we're going to make some plan here. Folks, this is the National Safe Child Show. This is happening in each and every state every day. If you don't believe it, I don't know what to tell you, because open your ears. Mainstream media isn't covering it. Hopefully they will jump on the bandwagon. Families are being torn apart. Children are being abused in a protective system. And this is real, serious, and it's destroying the very fabric our country was built on. UBN Radio, thank you for covering these issues. Health Impact News. This is Tammy Stefano from National Safe Child. My heart is broken. We will see you next week, folks.
Thank you for listening to the National Safe Child Show on UBN Radio. For past episodes, visit the archives on ubnradio.com. And for more information, go to nationalsafechildcoalition.com.
They wouldn't even let me say goodbye. It was just really, really mean.
The views
of
and
them,
opinions expressed in these radio programs are those of the individual hosts and do not reflect the official policy or position of Universal Broadcasting Network.